Good morning, everybody, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I wanted to read today on the murder of Jamal Khashoggi and justice for Khashoggi. It's looking now, the CIA has come out with information that indeed the Crown Prince MBS of Saudi Arabia is alleged to have ordered Jamal Khashoggi's murder. It's something that we kind of knew all along. It's like, okay, come on, intelligence agencies, give us the evidence. There's also another link between the Crown Prince's brother, who is also the US ambassador to Washington, actually phoned Khashoggi and urged him to go to the Saudi Arabian embassy in Turkey to get his marriage certificate. Now, it's like now we're getting the real truth is starting to emerge. The real worry here is the connection, as always in my previous readings has shown, the connection between Trump, Kushner, and the Trump, government and the Saudis and that relationship. And there has been sort of clear and obvious signals that Donald Trump is trying to protect the Saudis and trying to protect the Crown Prince. Kushner has a special relationship with MBS. So the question here is Trump covering for MBS, and why? And will there be justice for Jamal Khashoggi? When I started this reading and I opened myself up, attuning to the energy, the universal consciousness, what I got was a brilliant piercing light coming through around Jamal Khashoggi. Now that tells me that things are going to emerge on his murder, and it is actually going to be revealing. This light is always revealing, and it's always revealing the truth. So for me, I think that there will be justice for Jamal Khashoggi, and I think that in time, perhaps not immediately, but in time, perhaps once Trump has gone, there will be this really close analysis of that relationship with the Saudis and the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. And I think what is going to be turned up will be quite startling. Wow. Okay, so first of all, I think around the questions that we're going to frame, will there be justice for Jamal Khashoggi? I think is the one that I need to follow, given I had that brilliant light when I opened up and started this reading. Will there be justice? Justice for Khashoggi. Okay. Okay, so straight away we've got the Three of Cups emerging, and this is indeed the card of support and love. And this is the light that I see at the beginning of the reading. It seems to me that this Khashoggi's murder has taken on a life of its own. It's kind of all tied up in the Trump administration and that kind of corruption that we're seeing. These kind of business relationships between the two countries, and indeed what they are willing to do for these business relationships. When Trump says Saudi Arabia is a great ally of America, well, what he's really saying is Saudi Arabia is a great ally of me, and we're accomplishing our agenda together. It's not America and Saudi Arabia, it's Trump and Saudi Arabia. And I think that around Khashoggi, something tragic has happened, to Jamal Khashoggi, and it's embedded with these links between Trump and Kushner and and the Saudis and the deals, that these alliances that are now going on. And make no mistake, at the bottom of the alliances are moneyed agendas. So when you introduce a martyr into that sort of situation, it takes a life of its own. This justice for Khashoggi, people won't stop until the truth comes out, because they know in hiding the truth, then that there's, I guess, sometimes the truth is more powerful than the power that someone like Trump holds. And I think that's what that Three of Cups is saying. And then the root of this is money news, okay? The Page of Pentacles comes forward. This is really when, there is some news around money. So I think what's going to happen here is that we will, in time, as I thought, in time we will get to the truth of the matter. It's also about prying the truth open. It's actually one of my favourite cards. But the other aspect of it all is also spying and these hidden communications between parties. And then once that occurs, then there's this. The other aspect of this card is prying open the lid to reveal what actually is really going on. And this is the focus of the reading. And this is what the martyrdom of Khashoggi actually will stand for. And the Emperor we have in the past, it's this all-powerful. Now, I think this is Trump here, and I also think it's the Saudis. It's also it could be MBS, because this is like a general. And so I think this is indicating that the truth comes out about MBS. Indeed, it already has with the CIA assessment, but I think it's more than that. I think this is the links between MBS and Trump and MBS and Kushner. Okay. And of course we were going to pick this card, which is the light, the star, the light of hope and the light of truth coming forward. This is almost like the divine truth unfolding. And that's really the potential of this situation, the divine truth unfolding with this piercing light, the piercing light of truth and hope. And I think that's, as I said, the murder's taken on a life of its own. And the Eight of Pentacles is suggesting that there will indeed be, this work to uncover the truth, because Khashoggi in his martyrdom has left a legacy for others, and I think that there will be those that won't stop, until the truth is revealed, and I think it has to do with money. I really do. Okay, and just clarifying the Eight of Pentacles, we've got the Empress. Now, the Empress comes forward, with this, I guess it's like revealing secrets, but revealing what has been hidden. But it's more than just revealing what has been hidden. There's a real divine aspect to what the Empress brings forward. She's bringing forward healing as well as truth. So I think for Khashoggi's family, eventually there is going to be the healing that they need. I watched an interview with his sons, and they're very, very, distraught because his body hasn't been recovered, and in their faith in religion they need to bury that body, or not bury it, but have the appropriate ceremonies around that to find closure. And until his body is found, will they ever find it? Probably they may not, but the truth coming forward about what happened to him will maybe enable them to perhaps go to the scene of the crime and have some kind of closing for them. But I think really, as I thought when I started this reading, the truth is actually going to unfold. It will be revealed that these links between Saudi Arabia and the Americans, and the relationships between the US Saudi ambassador, who's MBS's brother, and the Trump White House. And hence the reason why Trump is trying to cover up for them. So let's have a look. Indeed, we'll take it one step further and have a look whether or not Trump is covering Trump, I mean, he won't be successful. Once the CIA has released their report, it's quite heartening to see that despite the, America is not just Donald Trump. America is so much more than its president. And it's really heartening to see these intelligence agencies coming out with their findings. I mean, these agencies are populated by the men and women that make up the US, I guess, national citizens. And together they're stronger than what is actually a very sad and tragic chapter in America's history, that someone like Donald Trump can take the presidency and the highest office in the land. I think we'll do a reading at some other stage, but I really do on the future of the GOP. I really do think it's a decimated party without a great deal of future, unless it can actually reform itself, and there will be needing that reform post-Trump. We don't. I mean, obviously, a healthy democracy functions with multiple parties and and clean systems, and that's, I think, what will need to happen going forward. So, in terms of Jamal Khashoggi, will it be revealed why Donald Trump is trying to cover for the Saudis? I'm just getting it's in his personality to cover for those that he thinks are loyal to him. There are close ties between the two. This transcends the presidency. It goes back to Trump's business with the Saudis. He is going to protect those business relationships. Okay, will it be revealed why Trump covered for the Saudis? Will it be revealed why Trump covered for the Saudis? Okay, so the King of Swords comes out straight away as this powerful leader, courageous, and indeed brandishing the sword of truth. The swords, of course, are mental clarity. So straight away we're seeing that the truth is actually being revealed right now. And the Six of Cups, I mean, that's around nostalgia and going back to a time when there wasn't this corruption here. I think what this reading, my intuitive feeling already, things happening quite quickly. This is actually picking up the Mueller investigation, and the High Priestess, of course, coming forward, with this, I guess, mystery aspect to it, this intuition and trust. And I think that's the focus or the potential of the reading. This reading is picking up the Mueller investigation, and it's basically saying that everything about the Trump presidency will be revealed. And what's going to come out, including these kind of clandestine relationships with countries like Saudi Arabia, Russia, Israel, all of that is going to be on the table. Eventually, in time, it's going to be in the book of history. But, this heartbreak, it's sort of saying that will the truth be revealed as to why Trump tried to cover up. And, this is heartbreak and loss. And I think that's what is there for Donald Trump. But and again, the star, the hope, okay, the hope card coming forward. Khashoggi's murder, Khashoggi's martyrdom does play an important part in this whole judgment around the Trump presidency and the way that he's conducted himself in the White House. Now, while Mueller's investigation may be responsible for taking down the Trump presidency, and indeed what the Democrats may do in the House, I think at some time in the future, because Trump will no longer be in power, there's going to have to be an open book on how he conducted his presidency, and I think this Khashoggi will be front and centre there. because of his cover-up. Whenever he's trying to cover up something, he's trying to hide something. What's he trying to hide? It is those business links. It is those alliances between Saudi Arabia. And because Trump has, his downfall is I guess going to be he was so extreme. He is so extreme. What that's going to do is people are going to be picking over his presidency in the future. They will be working hard to, because they almost have a mandate when he's charged and those around him is charged, when things unfold as to exactly who he is and what he's done, his whole 2 years in the presidency will be open for investigation. So I think Khashoggi, this, as I said, his martyrdom will be looked into and will be looked into further. The fact that the CIA is revealing this assessment that MBS has been caught up in, has ordered the murder. It'll be interesting to see what Trump is going to do over the next week now with that CIA. Let's have a look, and then we'll see if he's, despite the CIA evidence, is he still going to persist in trying to cover for MBS, or is he going to be forced into actually doing something like perhaps severing ties? But it's kind of telling me that when the Democrats get the House, they might actually look into these relationships between Saudi Arabia and Donald Trump, and why he tried to cover the Khashoggi murder to protect the Crown Prince. So, given the CIA assessment now that MBS, will Trump actually be forced to take some sort of action, or will he still try and protect him? The CIA assessment, Trump be forced to take action, and he still resists. Okay, so what I'm getting here is that the more the public is invested in this, the more that he will try and protect MBS. So will he try and protect him? I mean, the Sun is indicating that potentially he will try and protect him. But we'll just leave that sit there. Okay, now we're getting to the focus of the reading. I think he will keep trying to protect the Saudi, because to expose it would be to expose his business interests. The devil is the card of material greed and being chained to outcomes for nefarious reasons. The Queen of Wands, though, comes forward. She, comes forward a lot in our readings, doesn't she? And I think that this is it is the organisations like the CIA, it is the Democrats, it is those that are pressing for the truth. And this is the self-assurance that's coming forward now that Trump's power has been. It's been more than dented. It's been almost decimated in a way. He still holds the presidency, but he, it's sort of like his days are numbered in the presidency. And I think that this is this inspiration that has led to the victory for the Democrats in the midterms. And indeed, this is why these agencies are coming forward now, because if they don't, what's going to happen to them when the power structures change? And the Queen of Pentacles, I mean, again, we're pulling a lot of queens, and she's very resourceful. Now, that's interesting, because it could point to some of Trump's business interests. This may be someone like Barbara Underwood, maybe uncovering some truths about Saudi Arabia. But Trump's still going to try and protect him, but it's going to be a bit of a battle, I think, for him. And here we go with the Nine of Wands here. It is going to be a battle for him. This is about keeping and maintaining boundaries and resisting the things, resisting investigations, resisting the sanctions that should be put on Saudi Arabia, or any further sanctions, resisting calling MBS to task. So it's going to be quite interesting. So this reading is saying that indeed he's going to try, and here we go, the Two of Wands, this I guess waiting for results and then making choices. And this is like looking to Saudi Arabia as well. We've got the globe here and across the seas, the world. Trump is actually going to, I guess, wait for public opinion to be determined. He's going to hold out. This reading is saying he's going to hold out for as long as he can. That these structures are in place now to drive this forward. It's got a momentum of its own. It probably could go to the House as well for further action. It may be tied up in anything that Barbara Underwood might be doing in New York in terms of Trump's business interests and the conflicts with his presidency. But he is going to go. He's going to hold out for as long as he can. He's going to resist action against MBS and the Two of Wands. He's going to be waiting for results. So he's going to be waiting for the court of public opinion. He's also going to be waiting on something coming from Saudi Arabia as well. Now, what could that be? That might be that the King of Saudi Arabia chooses someone else other than MBS in succession. So it could be that Trump is waiting on, if there is irrefutable evidence and public opinion, and as I said, this life of its own, he might be waiting for what Saudi Arabia is going to do in relation to MBS. Okay, so Khashoggi is something to watch because it's very much tied up in the Trump presidency and the way that Trump has brought this business, his businesses into his presidency. His business interests are very much at the core of his presidency. But in terms of him doing anything further with Saudi Arabia, he's going to resist. And he's resisting for material reasons, for his own material gain. But he is waiting for something, for either something that Saudi Arabia is going to do or waiting for the court of public opinion to either grow. But whilever he can, he will resist. So it's sort of like on a tipping point. The more pressure that's put on him, the more he is resisting, and in the end of the day, probably unable to resist some sort of action against Saudi Arabia. So that is the reading on Jamal Khashoggi. I used my Arcanum deck in that reading. It is absolutely beautiful. This is probably one of my favourite cards because I think she represents. Is it Lady Liberty? Is that what she represents? Anyway. Okay, let's leave it there. Viewers, thank you again for all your support of my channel and have a lovely weekend and I will talk to you again soon. Thank you.